Over 53 years of practicing medicine, I signed 4,000 death certificates. I watched patients spend their final hours in settings exactly like this one. When you hold that many hands at the end of life, a stark pattern emerges. The vast majority of those people did not drop dead at 68 from bad genetics or terrible luck. They died because of exposed mechanical behaviors they repeated every single day. I am 102 years old. I live alone, I cook my own meals, and I walk every day. I am not here for your sympathy. I am telling you this because I know exactly what separates the patients who made it to 90 from the ones who didn't. Surviving past your 80th birthday requires you to look closely at your daily routine. You are likely doing at least 2 things right now that are silently shaving years off your life. Consider the case of a retired judge I treated. Every morning, religiously, he completed a 45-minute workout. He thought that morning sweat session bought him invincibility. But after he finished, he would sit in a chair reading and watching television for 10 straight hours. At 71, a stroke killed him. When you hit age 60, your body loses the biological resilience it had at 40. The systems that once bounced back from physical abuse become rigid. A brief burst of morning activity cannot physically repair the structural damage caused by an entire afternoon of absolute stillness. The math simply does not work. In 1981, I started tracking patients who sat for work, accountants and executives, against those who moved throughout the day. By 1990, the data was clear. Someone sitting 8 or 9 hours daily was aging internally about 40% faster than someone active. This diagram shows the human circulatory and lymphatic systems. Unlike your heart, the lymphatic system lacks a central pump. It relies entirely on the movement of your leg muscles to push fluid around. When you sit, that circulation slows, fluid stagnates, and metabolic toxins accumulate. For someone over 60, this exact stagnation triggers muscle atrophy within a matter of days. You are effectively suffocating your lower extremities by simply remaining seated. Then there is the issue of rest. I cannot count how many patients proudly told me they only needed 5 hours of sleep a night. That is not strength. It is a biological delusion. Look at this cross-section of the brain. It illustrates the glymphatic system. This is the brain's specialized waste clearance network. It absolutely requires 7 to 9 hours of deep sleep to wash away the toxic proteins associated with cognitive decline. If you wake up 4 or 5 times a night, you interrupt these repair cycles. I watched patients with broken sleep develop memory problems a full 10 years earlier than those who slept deeply. When you ignore basic mechanical maintenance like frequent movement and deep sleep, you create a highly toxic internal environment. No pharmaceutical intervention can clear out waste that your body is structurally blocked from processing. There is a tendency to treat loneliness and chronic worry as soft psychological issues. They are not. They are aggressive, measurable biological threats. When you lose a spouse or live entirely isolated, your body interprets that as physical danger. It triggers a chronic stress response, keeping a hormone called cortisol perpetually elevated in your bloodstream. This graph clearly plots the biological cost of that isolation. As the timeline of loneliness extends, you see the curve for systemic inflammation rise sharply, while the line representing immune defense drops straight down. In my clinic, otherwise healthy patients who lived alone with no meaningful connections deteriorated much faster than patients fighting serious chronic illnesses who maintained strong social bonds. A biological system trapped in a perpetual fight or flight state will eventually burn through its reserves and start damaging its own organs. My own profession spent 40 years giving the wrong dietary advice. We told seniors to eat low-fat diets packed with processed whole grains and fruit juices. But after age 60, your metabolism undergoes a significant shift. Your insulin sensitivity decreases, meaning your pancreas struggles to properly process incoming carbohydrates. Because of this shift, foods that your body easily handled at 40, like large bowls of cereal or daily orange juice, turn into massive inflammatory agents in an older digestive tract. Continuing to eat based on outdated dietary dogma forces a shifting metabolic engine to process fuel it can no longer safely handle. My wife and I were married 61 years. I am independent at 102, but she died at 94 after a brutal 15-year physical decline. She sat constantly because her knees hurt. She refused to address her poor sleep. She ate the bread and sweets she was raised on, and she worried endlessly about our grandchildren. Those choices actively engineered her own diminishment. Reaching 94 might sound like a victory on paper, but simply extending your lifespan means nothing if you have not maintained the health span required to actually enjoy those years. The real danger of sitting too much, sleeping poorly, and eating processed carbs is not that they will kill you immediately. It is that they will strip away your autonomy, leaving you trapped in a failing body for a decade. Because the human body operates as a fully interconnected system, you do not have to fix everything at once. Correcting just one of these habits creates a positive biological cascade. If you simply set a timer and stand up every 50 minutes, you naturally burn off excess stress hormones. That reduction in cortisol improves your sleep, which in turn lowers your overall systemic inflammation. You are actively making a biological choice right now. The decisions you make today will strictly dictate the quality of your final decades. I have buried 4,000 patients, and most of them did not have to go when they did. Surviving past 80 with your independence intact is a series of deliberate daily choices to reject the patterns that pull you down.